They have nothing that could be called bows and arrows, body armor, helmets, or the like. I have heard reports that when the Siamese attacked, all the ordinary people were ordered out to do battle, often with no good strategy or preparation. As a result of repeated wars with the Siamese, the land has been completely laid to waste. The local people who know how to trade are all women. So when a Chinese goes to this country, the first thing he must do has taken a woman, partly with a view to profiting from her trading abilities. There is a market every day from around 6 o'clock in the morning until midday. There are no stalls, only a tumbleweed mat laid out on the ground. There are a lot of effeminate men in the country who go around the markets in groups of a dozen or so. They frequently solicit the attention of Chinese in return for generous gifts. It is shameful and wicked. Inside the East Gate, there was a barbarian who had sex with his younger sister. Their skin and flesh stuck together, and after 3 days without eating, they both died. Such then is the spiritual power of the Holy Buddha in this country. I have often heard that the local women are very less vicious. If a husband doesn't meet his wife's wishes, he will be abandoned right away. If the husband happens to do work far away for more than 10 nights, the wife will say, "I'm not a ghost. Why am I sleeping alone?" This is how strong their sexual feelings are. When they are 7 to 9 years old, if they are from wealthy homes, or only when they're 11, if they come from the poorest families, girls have to get a Buddhist monk to take away their virginity in what is called chanth. The parents have to choose a Buddhist monk. On the night in question, a big banquet is laid on for the relatives and neighbors. At dusk, the monk is met with palanquin, parasol, and drums, and brought back to the house. I have heard that the monk goes into a room with the girl and takes away her virginity with his hand, which he then puts into some wine. Some say the parents and neighbors mark their forehead with it. Others say they all taste. So the strange report about Buddhist monks and young girls comes from a record of Cambodia written by Zhao Daguan. He was a Chinese diplomat who had been sent by the Mongol ruler of China, Timur Khan, to explore the Khmer Empire. He sailed from Ningbo up the river and arrived at Angkor Wat, then the capital of the empire. The Mongols under Kublai Khan did attack this empire, but Jayavarman VIII was able to keep their independence. But the Khmer had to pay tribute to the Mongols to maintain peace, and Jayavarman also converted the empire back to Hinduism, taking from Buddhism. But Zhao did not seem to pick up on any of the Hindu practices while he was there. However, when Zhao arrived in Angkor, Jayavarman had already been ousted by his son-in-law, Indravarman III. And Indravarman switched the religion of the empire yet again, making Buddhism the state religion. As for the ethnicity of this empire, the largest group was, and still is, Khmer, but there were also Malayan Chams, who could be subdivided once again to describe the mountain Chams. However, which group he refers to next is still up for debate. There are 2 kinds of savage. The first know how to deal with people and talk to them and are sold into the towns as slaves. The second are uneducated and cannot communicate in words. The second kind have no homes to live in, but move from place to place in the mountains, taking their family with them and carrying a clay pot on their heads as they walk. By nature, they are very ferocious. Their herbal concoctions are highly poisonous, and within their own groups, they frequently kill each other. Family slaves are all savages purchased to work as servants. Most families have 100 or more of them. A few families have 10 or 20. The savages are people who come from the mountains, commonly called thiefing Zhuang. When they come to the city, none of them dares go in people's homes. They are so despised and are only allowed to sit and sleep under the house. If they do something wrong, they are beaten and take their caning with heads bowed, not venturing to move even a little. Sometimes slaves run away. Those that are caught and taken back must carry a dark blue tattoo on their face, and sometimes an iron shackling around their neck or between their arms and legs. If there is a dispute among the ordinary people, it must be referred up to the king, even if it's a small matter. There are never any whippings or floggings. Instead, they dig a ditch in the ground, put the criminal inside, and leave it at that. Otherwise, people have their fingers or toes amputated or their nose cut off. If a husband finds out that his wife has committed adultery, he has her lover's feet squeezed between two pieces of wood. When he is unable to bear the pain, the lover gives the husband everything he owns, and only then can he get his release. Given this practice, sometimes things are set up to defraud people. When a family catches a thief, they can impose own punishment, whether it's detention, torture, or beating. There is, however, one standard practice if someone won't own up. They heat some oil in a cauldron until it is extremely hot, and make the person concerned put their hand in it. If they are a thief, their hand turns putrid. If they are not, their skin stays the same as before. Here we obviously see some of the punishments that were dished out to criminals. But before going on to the next section, I should include some other things that he mentioned. For instance, he talks about how 300 to 500 palace women would carry lances and shields and lead the king's parade in front of the guards. They in turn would be followed by ministers on elephants, and finally the king. Otherwise, although he advised every Chinese person should get a Cambodian woman, he also said that they aged very quickly. He also describes how the king had a sacred piece of metal embedded into his body, which he believed would protect him against any arrow or blade. All of this has been subdivided into various categories, like the birds and local animal, settling disputes, leprosy, and other illnesses, and a bunch of others. I have slightly changed it around a bit just so it flows a bit better. In this next section, he talks about the annual events.